Hey guys, and welcome to the second episode of this year's edition of the 12 Days of Switchmas, where I will be looking at Super Mario Galaxy 1+2, the game that kicked off Mario's 40th anniversary. And when looking at these games individually, they are absolutely incredible. Some of my favorite games of all time, especially Galaxy 2, and if I rank them on this list, they would be close to the top. But when looking at the collection, or I guess technically bundle, since when you put in the cartridge on your Switch or Switch 2, they kind of display individually, kind of like the Pikmin 1+2 bundle. I just call it a collection for simplicity, but when looking at this collection, it is really overpriced and lackluster. Like, it is $70 for both of these games, which I think is absolutely ridiculous in the Big 25. Like, these games are over 15 years old. Mario Galaxy 1 is pushing 20 years old. That is just crazy, especially because both of these games are $20 on the Wii U eShop. I think $20 for each of these games probably would have been fair, and like $40 overall for the collection. Maybe even like $35, like, to get a slightly better deal, kind of like how both of these games, if you bought them individually, would be $80, but it's like $70 for the collection, so I think that's kind of fair, honestly. And when looking at changes and features, they didn't really do much, which does make the $70 price point sting even more. But I would say, though, it does do slightly more than 3D All-Stars, and I would say they handled it slightly better than 3D All-Stars. One thing that I like is the fact that the menu kind of retains the same style as the original versions of the games. I mean, that might sound obvious because these are basically just direct ports of the games, but it is nice that they, like, adapted them rather than adding this oversimplified menu like 3D All-Stars did. Like, they actually added the new features within that Wii-esque menu, and they kind of updated the textures for the menu and things like that. So it is nice seeing a Frutiger Arrow style menu in the 2020s. I think it's pretty nice that they kind of adapted the menu in that way. They also added assist mode, which I personally don't really care about because it's just an easy mode, but it is nice for children or casual gamers or anyone who wants to be eased into the Galaxy games. It is always nice to have that accessibility option there, though I heard that it is kind of janky in some areas because it literally just is a mode from Mario Odyssey that was tacked onto a Wii game, so I guess that kind of makes sense that that can run into some issues in some areas, but it still is nice to have an accessibility option there. And then they also weirdly added Amiibo support as well. That's partially because they are releasing Amiibos for this game around the time that the Mario Galaxy movie releases, but it's still weird that they just, like, added Amiibo support. Like, any Mario-related Amiibo will either grant, like, a 1-up mushroom, a life-up mushroom, or coins or star bits, depending on the Amiibo that you tap. But I just think that's kind of interesting. It is nice to see Nintendo utilize Amiibo more, but it is unfortunate that the new Amiibo that they're releasing are pretty expensive. They've also tweaked other things as well, like the fonts. Basically, all of the fonts now are using the modern Mario font that they've been using since 2011, or technically 2010 with the spine of Galaxy 2. That was technically like the first instance of that font being used in the Mario franchise. I personally don't mind it. I think it's fine, honestly. I kind of like that Nintendo has been making things more consistent by using that font, like they used it in the Thousand Year Door remake, Super Mario RPG remake. It makes these games feel a little more connected to the modern Mario lineup, which I think is fine. And they also added some new chapters to Rosalina's storybook, and they also added a Lubba storybook as well. It basically shows her backstory and different things about her, which I think is really nice. And just like Rosalina, she also has a tragic backstory, and it made me appreciate Lubba a lot more. So I definitely think that was a great inclusion, even though it wasn't too much. It still was nice that they went out of their way to create, like, some more story details for these games. I definitely appreciate Nintendo kind of tapping into that more story-oriented side of the Mario franchise. It's a side of the franchise that I really hope they emphasize more, especially with the Mario RPGs. And then one final thing that was kind of changed from 3D All-Stars is playing these games in handheld mode. I feel like they definitely made it a little more playable because you could actually use gyro now rather than just using the touchscreen, which was borderline unplayable in 3D All-Stars, honestly. But using gyro to control the pointer in handheld mode isn't as jarring as it seems. The sensitivity is high, so you won't be moving your Switch or Switch 2 around too much. And also, speaking of Switch 2, the game has upscaled 4K on the Switch 2, and it looks really nice. And they also added mouse control support, but only for co-star mode specifically, which is really dumb because I feel like the entirety of both of these games would have worked really well with mouse controls for the pointer. It's just a really big missed opportunity there. And yeah, in general, this collection is just pretty lackluster for the price. These are both excellent games, some of my favorite games of all time, and I'm glad that I was able to revisit them. I guess more so Galaxy 2, because I didn't really play through Galaxy 1 in this collection, since I already played through Galaxy 1 multiple times in 3D All-Stars. But let me know what you think of this collection down in the comments. And anyways, thank you guys for watching this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more, and make sure to check out my Discord server and Blue Sky if you want to. Stay perky!